Okay, we're going to go bell ringer crazy when I get back to you. So for now, just have it done so we can discuss the answers when I return tomorrow. I'm sorry I'm absent again today. And that's just why. But we can't get behind. So the bad news is, since I'm recording a video, you can't ask me questions as I do these notes. So if you have any questions, or if I go too fast on something, of course, one, I'm going to post the video on Google Classroom, so re-watch the video. And then two, you can ask me questions through Google Classroom, so why don't you try that? Or if you want me to respond faster, because for some reason I don't always get my notifications from Google Classroom, why don't you email me directly at leah.compton@acsboe.org, and then I know you need me, and I'll see what I can do to help. And then, of course, the best option would be for me to see your face during zero period on Wednesday. Okay, so yesterday I left you with a worksheet that looked a little difficult. The reason I left you with an adding and subtracting polynomials worksheet is mostly because you're still not necessarily adding or subtracting correctly, but there are some problems on this worksheet you can't do. For instance, I wasn't really paying attention to this. You can't do 18, 19, or 20 yet. Those involve multiplying. We're not done learning how to multiply yet. So I get why you can't do 18, 19, and 20. And the same goes for exercises B. Now, Rex figured out in third period, because he read the directions and looked at the examples, what you do is your answer from 1A, you draw a line from it to your answer in 1B in the little crossword maze thing. But if you did it wrong, am I going to freak out? No. Am I grading the maze? No. I'm looking to see that you can still practice adding and subtracting. And I really like that it has answer options, because some of us keep making teeny tiny sign errors. For instance, you might have all of this, but instead of having a minus 6x squared y, you might have a plus. And those teeny tiny sign errors over time keep adding up and causing us some issues. So I was wanting to practice that again. Okay, so when I get done rambling, if you don't have anything else you need to do for me, my gosh, why don't you finish this worksheet from yesterday? Of course, it's great with me if you work with your group. Some people still haven't turned in their adding and subtracting color by numbers. Where is your color by number? I need it. Some people have gotten their checkpoints back and still haven't passed. If you have your checkpoint and you know you haven't passed, you need to fix it and turn it back in. However, I have like 10 checkpoints with me that I need to grade. So if the holdup is me, I can't count off on that. I can only count off if the holdup is you. So get your life together, do your checkpoint, turn it in. Let's get past adding and subtracting so we can talk about multiplying. Whew. All that being said, I don't know what got into me on Monday, but what we did on Monday with this little handout is useful and it's great, but it wasn't supposed to be what we were doing on Monday. It was supposed to be Wednesday's problem, so I made you do math 2 days before you're ready to do it. Yeah, I don't know what my deal was. Everyone followed what we were doing, though, with foiling. If you weren't here on Monday, then you know you need to watch that video, because everyone else was with us, so we've got to get our life together. So here's what we were supposed to do on Monday, which we will work on today. And I changed the learning target in case you didn't notice. Instead of saying binomials, it says polynomials. So we're going to talk about monomials, trinomials, all of them, not just binomials today. We're still going to use that acronym we discussed, which is FOIL. The F is for first. The O is for outer, or for outside. Outer and outside, either one's fine. The I is for inner or inside. And the L is for last. We talked about that on Monday, and all of that's great, and we're still going to use that today. But we're only going to use it with binomials. And I'm sure this was supposed to be folded some cutesy way, and I don't even know. We're just going to deal with it like it is because, you know, I don't have time for that. So I'm sure because it's a dotted line you were supposed to cut, but good grief, I don't know. If you want to figure it out and cut it and make it beautiful, good for you. Okay, so I'm just going to work all these examples and talk to myself. Again, you're not here to ask me questions, so if something goes wrong or you don't understand, you'll have to let me know and send out an SOS. Okay, so example 1 says multiply, and then there's a term, and then there's a second term. And what we were talking about with FOIL isn't really going to work. Who would be the first, who would be the outer, who would be the inner, who would be the last? It doesn't make sense with this example. So what we're going to do is just normal distribution. And I told you FOIL was really just a fancy way of distributing anyway. So I'm just going to multiply everyone who's supposed to be multiplied. So 4 times 6, that's 24. So I did 4 times 6, I got 24. R to the third times R to the fifth. Well, when I multiply, add my exponents. 3 plus 5 is 8. And then s to the fourth times x to the sixth, I add those exponents too. 4 plus 6 is 10. So that was pretty easy. So let's see if the next one gets a little more complicated. So again, and the reason it's this easy is because it's a monomial. I need to be classifying myself. Why am I not doing that? It's a monomial. And how do you know it's a monomial? Because there's not a plus. We're not adding two terms. There either needs to be a plus or minus to separate the terms. Since I don't see that, it is just a monomial. Okay, and then again, I like to wait until I'm done with my problem to classify. That's what some people were doing wrong on the checkpoint, is they were classifying from the get-go. Why don't you wait till you do your math and solve, and then take your simplified answer and then classify. Okay, on example 2, I got carried away. 9 times negative 2 is negative 18. X squared times x to the third, I add my exponents. 2 plus 3 is 5. Y to the first and y to the first, we'll get y to the second, because there's an understood 1, so it's 1 plus 1, which is 2. And then poor z to the 6th, he doesn't have anyone to add to him, so it's just going to be z to the 6th. So I got negative 18, x to the 5th, y to the 2nd, z to the 6th. Okay, and that was dealing with monomials, so now let's look at possibly some more complicated ones. So I'm going to go to 3 and 4 now. I know, I should have cut it how it's supposed to cut and everything. And Lord, let's go ahead and fill in that product rule thing, because I know you know that. It says when you multiply the two bases, you're going to add the exponents. We just had a justification question like this. So you know we add the exponent, so it should be m plus n. So we add the exponents here, so we would do 4 plus 6. Do we normally write that out? No, we normally go straight to our answer, which is 10. Okay, so example 3 and 4. It says to multiply. Again, I see who could be a first in this term, but there's no who's the outer, who's the inner, who's the last. I really wish I'd waited to tell you all about FOIL instead of going there Monday, but it's okay. So since we can't FOIL this is not the kind of problem where I can decide who's first, outer, inner, last. We're just going to distribute. But really, and I'm going to keep repeating myself, FOIL is just a fancy way of distributing. So all we're really doing all week long with multiplying is distributing. Okay, so I distribute the 3m to the first term. So 3m times 5m squared, I'm going to get 15, because 3 times 5 is 15. And then I'm going to have m to the third, because I have m to the 1 times m to the 2, and I add my exponents, and I get m to the 3, m to the third. Okay, but I also need to distribute that term to the 2m. So 3m times 2m, 3 times 2 is 6, m to the first times m to the first. I add my exponents and I get m squared. Okay, and I'm going to do the same sort of thing on example 4. I'm going to distribute the 7g. The only reason it's more complicated is because I need to distribute that 7g to more terms, because there's 1, 2, 3 terms right there, and the reason I know that is because there is a symbol separating them. Okay, so, but at the end of my answer on example 3, because there were 2 terms, it was a binomial. So if we had to classify that one was a binomial. The way our first 2 examples were monomials. I don't think I wrote it, but I should have. Okay, so I distribute the 7g to each term. 7g times g squared, I get 7g to the third. 7g times 5g, I get 7 times 5 is 35. G to the first times g to the first, I get g squared. And then 7g times negative 3. Well, 7 times negative 3 is negative 21. And I can't forget about the g. I just don't have any, I only have one g because there were no g's over here to add. So really, if you followed this on Monday, it was a lot more complicated and a lot more work than what we're doing today. Whew, Monday, Leo was... Oh, I miss content. Good gravy. You know it's bad when I start full naming myself. Oh, grief. Good grief. Get it together. Okay. I need to go back to example 4. We're at the end of this example, and it is a trinomial, because there's 3 of them. I'm telling you, this YouTube video, so many hits. So many watches. It's going to be great. Okay, example 5. Same logic. I've got to distribute this term to the 3a to the 4th b to the 3rd, and I need to distribute this term to the 6a squared b to the 3rd. Okay, so negative 5 times 3 is negative 15. A to the, what was a squared times a to the 4th. I add my exponents. 2 plus 4 is 6. And then b to the, there's a 1, understood 1 there, so 1 plus 3, which is 4. And then I'm going to do, oh, I don't know why I put that plus. I need to pay attention. Negative 5 times positive 6 is going to be a negative 30. A squared times a squared, it's going to be a to the 2 plus 2, which is 4. And then b to the 1 plus 3, which is also 4. So ignore my little squiggle. I have negative 15, a to the 6th, b to the 4th, minus 30, a to the 4th, b to the 4th. And that would be, because there's 2 terms, it is a binomial. And then example 6. If we distribute our monomial to our 3 different terms, we would get negative 5 times 1 is negative 5. Y to the 3rd times y squared is y to the 5th, because 3 plus 2 is 5. And then minus 5 times, negative 5 times 6 is negative 30. And then y to the 3 plus 1 is 4. Negative 5 times negative 8 is positive 40. Negative 5, negative 8 makes positive 40. And then there's still a y to the 3rd. And so my answer is a trinomial. Okay, and if I was paying attention, the notes are telling me what we're doing at the bottom. On 3, 4, 5, and 6, we were taking a monomial, which I'm going to highlight in pink. We did a monomial times a trinomial. We got a trinomial. A monomial times a binomial. We got binomial. A monomial times a trinomial. We got a trinomial. And a monomial times a binomial, and we got a binomial. Okay, so let me say those words one last time. FOIL only works when it's binomials, two binomials. Since none of our examples have been two binomials, we haven't used FOIL yet. We're finally going to get to use FOIL on 7, 8, 9 because we have a binomial times a binomial. We're finally going to get to FOIL. And today's FOILing is actually going to be easier than what we were doing on Monday. So I'm so silly. Okay, first would be x times x, which is x squared. That was my first. Outer would be x times 5, which is 5x, so plus 5x. Inner, I would do 2 times x and get 2x. And then last, 2 times 5 and I get 10. I took my colored pens home, so I'm trying to make it pretty and colorful, and what am I doing? Making a giant mess. That's supposed to just be a 10. Okay, so I have x squared plus 5x plus 2x plus 10. I'm going to stop being pretty after this. I'm sorry. Didn't bring all my pens. I don't know what to do. Okay, I need to combine my like terms, so I'm going to add 5x plus 2x. My final answer is x squared plus 7x plus 10. Next example, again, I'm going to FOIL. First, 3a times a, I'm going to get 3a squared. 1 plus 1 is 2. Outer, 3a times negative 2b. Well, 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. That one has an a, that one has a b, so my answer is a, b. Negative 6ab. Inner, I'm going to get plus, and I get it looks like BA, but I'm an ABC order kind of person, so I'm going to write plus AB. I always like to put them in ABC order. And then last, B times negative 2B, and I get negative 2B squared because 1 plus 1 is 2. We are multiplying, so we add our exponents. I have like terms that I can combine. I get 3a squared minus 5ab minus 2b squared. And then last, again, I'm going to FOIL. First, d times d is d squared. Outer, negative 5 times d is negative 5d. Inner, plus 5d. And then last, negative 25. I have a negative 5d and a positive 5d. Those terms end up canceling out, and I end up with d squared minus 25. But again, if you were following what we were doing on Monday, I bet you could have done 7, 8, 9 without me. Okay, so if you've not finished your adding and subtracting page, that's what you should work on now. And if you, by some miracle, have all that done, and you and I both know clearly we need more time to practice what we just learned on multiplying binomials, color by number. I gave it to you on Monday, but no one's turned it in yet, which means no one's done yet, so that's what I would work on as well. If you need me, we already talked about how to get in touch with me. Please be productive. I'll see you tomorrow.